I'm Hemmer. Good morning. Gun sales way up since President Obama was elected. Analysts saying that some fear more stringent gun laws would come their way. Others concerned with self-defense in tough economic times.
So could all that change with this new justice on the bench? Shannon Bream is live in Washington. Shannon, she has got a record that troubles some gun rights advocates. Tell us why.
Well, Megan, if you look way back to when she was at Princeton, she wrote a thesis there about this idea of gun ownership and the Second Amendment and what it really means. Way back then, she said that the Second Amendment didn't apply to individuals, meaning you and I could not go out and buy a gun. It really only applied to certain organizations like the military. Now, fast forward a couple of decades, just this year, she had that Second Circuit opinion that you mentioned she signed on to, and it upheld New York State's ban on certain weapons. So she's saying in that case, cited back to a Supreme Court case from the 1800s, that states can ban weapons of various kinds and ownership of those. So, it has a lot of folks worried. She is a very, very small minority of appellate court judges who has ruled in that vein. And gun rights folks are very worried about her.
Well, and so she ruled that way, but then the Supreme Court in Heller basically found exactly the opposite. They didn't overrule her in that case yet, but didn't they come down exactly the opposite way recently, Shannon?
Yeah, it was just about a year ago. We're almost at the year mark for the Heller decision that came out of the court. I remember the day. Everybody was waiting. Both sides were there on the steps of the Supreme Court. It is a very heated debate. That decision went 5-4, with the conservatives joining together and getting the swing vote from Justice Anthony Kennedy. They said the Second Amendment does guarantee individual gun ownership rights. That came down June of last year. Well, it was January of this year that Judge Sotomayor issued her opinion. So it would seem to be in direct conflict with what the Supreme Court has already decided. And the interesting thing is that opinion she issued this January may actually end up on appeal at the Supreme Court within the next few months. And if she's sitting on the bench, we have to wonder whether she'll recuse herself or how that whole situation could go down.
Wait a minute, I didn't realize that. So her opinion saying that you don't have an individual right under the Second Amendment, that came after the Supreme Court decided Heller?
Well, not to get too inside baseball, you and I, love the law and the whole Supreme Court nerd situation, in parsing these laws and these cases. What she said in her opinion was that states have the right to regulate how you can own guns and that the Second Amendment applies only to the federal government. So she's staying on a very tenuous line with the Heller decision that came down here.
She's dancing on a pin needle on that one.
She is dancing on the head of a pin on that one. So it's still in line, but I have to imagine if that case is actually taken up by the Supreme Court, there'd be a very good chance she would be reversed.
Yeah, hello, reversal. Shannon Bream, thank you, ma'am.
Sure.
We have new details on that breaking news out of